Mtazamaji, karibu tuendelee na Sema na Citizen hii leo, ambapo sana tunaangazia usaili wa wenye makamishna wa tume ya IEBC. Tukirejea hapa studioni ni kwamba baraza la magavana linataka kaunti zitengewe shilingi bilioni 536 katika bajeti ya mwaka huu ya fedha. Hayo ni kwa mujibu wa mwenyekiti wa kamati ya fedha ya baraza la mawaziri ambaye pia ni gavana wa Kakamega, Ferdinand Barasa. Tusikilize yanayojiri kwenye baraza hilo.
And I must be very careful in anything I say, lest it can be used against me in future. We had the CS Treasury yesterday, and he raised serious issues concerning about 179 billion in pending bills. That 179, something like that. That about 47 counties owes suppliers across the country. And Chair, you know, once our suppliers are not facilitated and paid, they slow down the economic growth. I put to you, Your Excellency Governor Baraza, what is the Council of Governors doing in addressing the issue of the pending bill in our counties? And two, we are proposing, I don't know how it goes down well with you guys, that pending bills be paid at source. We have information that we request Treasury through the control of budget for payment of pending bills, but when monies are released to counties, you divert these monies into other unrelated activities away from what you initially intended to do. I find it absurd that you will want projects that are proposed in national government budget to be moved to your budgets, whereas you have your own share of revenue and nobody asks you how you plan. You've been paying bursaries to high school students and tertiary institutions. I put to you, Governor Baraza, is that a function of county government or national government? It is not fair that you speak in one side of the lip, you speak that all devolved functions must be devolved to counties. The other side you say, we must be left to pay bursaries, which is not even a function of the county governments. Lastly, do you think it's now time to reduce these county governments to 8 counties? Because as you sit there, you know it is difficult and expensive to run counties. Or we increase and make sub-counties as units of devolution. And I can tell you the 405 billion shared among the 290, minus the many vehicles and many officers in counties, every sub-county will receive not less than 1.5 billion for development. Using a CDF model, we need only 5 years to develop this country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Aseka. We have one more question, then we allow the governor to respond, and then we take the second set of questions. Let's have Honorable Nyakundi.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Governor, for the very good presentation that you've made. I have a question. In January this year, I had a meeting with CHPs. And from the national government, they claim to have been paid their dues fully. But coming to the county government, they had arrears of 9 months. And I've seen here that you wanted about 3.2 billion to go to counties so that you can be able to manage those funds. Apparently, even those CHPs were requesting that all the money that is given to the counties should be given to the national government because they pay them promptly. I don't know, why don't you pay these CHPs on time? Number two, I think my Nani has asked on the equalization fund. I'll ask another question on the aggregation or aggregation centers or the KIBs. Most of these KIBs have gone round, and most of them are maybe 10%, 15%. Some have not even started yet. And it was you guys were willing, both the national government and the county government, to give the 250 million and the 250 million so that you can be able to do the KIBs. But apparently, these KIBs have not even moved an inch. I don't know what the issue is. Lastly, I'll talk about my own county, which has a lot of pending bills, and I can see the county money is lying in the CRF account of about 3-4 billion Kenya shillings. I don't know why you guys need more money, and even the money that you are given, you're not willing and ready to spend it. But as a committee, we will continue supporting county governments, because we believe that some of the county governments are doing a good job and they need to be supported, and we will continue supporting them where need be, because our people back at home need services closer to them. And I want to assure you, as a budget and appropriation committee, we will support you where we need to support you. But where we see that things are not going right, we will also tell you, because we believe that is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think before the governor responds, Governor, I just have one question which I wanted you also to take note. And this is from your presentation. We feel that there's a lot of misinformation which has come out. Because from where we sit, the equitable sharing of resources, revenue is, we have a guide whereby the constitution is very clear, is guiding us. Article 203 is very clear on how we should be able to share these resources. And if you read Article 203 sub 2, for every financial year, the equitable share of the revenue raised nationally shall be allocated to counties, government, and shall not be less than 15% of the revenue collected by the national government. And number 3, the amount referred to in clause 2 shall be calculated on the basis of the most recent audited accounts of revenue received as approved by National Assembly. Governor, this is very clear, and this is the principle we are using. Now, you are highlighting that there's been revenue growth from the year 2020, 2021 to date. And your projection is, you're talking about 2.6 billion, which is as of the current revenue projection. Now, using the constitutional principle here, even if you were to give you 15% of what is the current projection, revenue projection, you will not even be able to get 400 billion. Actually, 15% of 2.63 trillion, which is the current revenue projection, what you'd actually get is 3.391 billion. So I wanted just to make it to you that the projections you have given us here and the table is really quite misleading. Yeah, because it has no really backing of the law. And so I wanted that to be clear. Governor, now you can take up and respond to the questions.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to appreciate comments from the floor. And in terms of the last observation, we know that the revenues that are allocated to counties is based on the recently audited and approved financial statements. Now, our request is for Parliament to expedite the approval process, because right now, the last approved accounts are accounts for 2020 and 2021. So our request was to have Parliament expedite, because it has an impact on the equalization fund. Because when that is done, then definitely that will have a positive impact. Instead of using historical audited financial statements and approved, And we note that the Auditor General is almost up to date. We are already making comments in Senate on the accounts which have been audited for 2023-2024. So our request is not very onerous, Chair, but your comments are actually noted. Yes, Vice Chair, the accounts are 3 years, not 5 years, because we are talking about 2020-2021. So your observation is correct. It's actually 3 years down the line, not 5 years. In terms of non-discretionary expenses, yes, this is a question which was raised by the Vice Chair. The current medical equipment agreement that we signed with the ministry did not include the additional equipment that are required in order to implement effectively the UHC. And that's why we are making that request of 39. All counties signed IPS with the ministry. And of course, we've had reviews on the equipment which are supposed to facilitate implementation of the medical equipment. So that's why we have made that request there. With regard to housing levy deductions, I'm just highlighting why we have our request for non-discretionary items. As a result of the national legislation, of course, we have expenses which the counties are now forced to incur. These expenses, as you're aware, we have the employer, who is the county, also contributing. And those specific expenses have not been factored in the conversation around the DORA. For example, housing levy deductions, we have an expense as counties. It's not factored anywhere. NSSF, which has been enhanced, we have employers' contribution. We also have the employees' contribution. So what we are highlighting there is the cost that is associated with the counties as a result of the review of the national legislation. Now, KIPES. We had agreements, and this is the flagship programs which we are implementing with the national government. Whatever that counties are supposed to contribute is 250 million. Now, whatever is supposed to be contributed by the national government is what we are requesting here as a conditional grant of 250 million. But we note that in as far as some counties have progressed with regard to their contribution, whatever that is supposed to come from the national government, even going by the recent county government additional allocation bill, that figure is reduced. So we are likely to have white helmet projects. Mark you, the contracts were actually signed with the understanding that this is going to be jointly implemented between the county governments and the national government. And we signed off the IPS, the intergovernmental participatory agreements for the joint implementation. So you'll realize that most of the counties, we are not progressing because the national government has not remitted part of their contribution. And what we have agreed with the Minister of Trade is that the contribution be a matching fund, so that we don't just say we are sending, let's say, 250 million to Mombasa County, and then the county government has not put in part of their money. So if it becomes a matching fund, then definitely it will now be appropriate that if Kakamega puts in 200 million, then we expect through the conditional grant coming from the national government at least to get the equivalent. So whatever that has been put here is actually the amount associated with the contribution from the national government through conditional grants, which of course, again, is always becoming a victim when you are doing the revision of budgets. So most of the last one, of course, is when we have CBS. For example, we had Dr. CBS. Usually when the return to work formula is agreed, we have those expenses that are supposed to be accruing again to counties. Now, those specific expenses come in when we have already done budgets. So what we are saying here is the budget for counties is not itemized. It is just a block figure. You are given 405 billion to budget without taking into consideration the specific itemized budget items. Now, CHPs, we note that the county government is actually supposed to pay 50%, and whatever that is coming again from the national government as a conditional grant. And our request here is, if the payment here is going to an employee of the county, why can't this come as an allocation to counties to avoid an employee getting 50% of their wages or stipend from one institution and then, of course, the other 50%. So I think this is just part of proper financial management and HR. Now, in terms of Ochieng, of course, you raised the issue of the growth. We have noted the fact that you like us to have a table to demonstrate the growth that when you're going to work on it. But the gazetted functions, what we are saying here is counties have functions which are gazetted. National government also has specific functions. Now, when we see functions that are actually devolved and we have specific budget items, which definitely has an impact on whatever goes to counties. Proper budget consideration is, why can't we have, like, for example, the 29.7 billion, it will be proper for functions which are devolved and we have attendant resources to be taken to counties. We have no issue, by the way, with bursaries, Honorable Waseka. In fact, if there is any, if there is anything that we are very happy about, is the bursaries to be consolidated and addressed by the national government, so that if there is any specific county that we still want to progress with paying bursaries, then you can have an IPA with national government. But our position, we are not fighting for bursaries. But whatever that is involved, let it actually be done by counties, and that is the only way that will be complying with the Constitution and also be seen to be supporting devolution.